Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Were you denied service connection? Is this holding you back from reaching those ultimately higher ratings, such as 100% or 100% permanent in total? Likely that's yes, right? Now, what do you do when you've been denied? The first thing you should do is just take a knee, calm down, let the shoulders down, and think it through. Let's go over that decision letter. Let's see exactly why you were denied and formulate a plan to combat it. Now, this is one of the things that veterans often do, which is the wrong move. Get irritated, get mad at the VA, take that paperwork, that unfavorable decision, throw it somewhere, and forget to go back to it, thus leading to a lapse in your time. You have a 12-month period from the date of that decision letter to either file a higher level review or a supplemental claim. Now, here's the deal. There's no substitute for getting it right the first time. And so if you've never filed a claim, or if you are thinking about filing a claim for something, let's get it right the first time, because this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to throw it against the wall, see if it sticks, have it denied, all so you can come back and do an appeal, stretch things out, and make things take longer than they should. Your goal should be get it right the first time and keep all of your back pay in your pocket. We're happy to help you with that. We're even happy to help you figure out how to deal with your denied claim. I'm going to talk through with you a couple of the tips and tricks here on dealing with your denied claim and what you should do. And there's a couple different caveats that we'll go with. One is the prior to 12 months from the decision, and then the after 12 months. So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that. I really do appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much for all the support. If you need any help with your claim, if you needed medical evidence, or if you need help writing your personal statement or having a buddy statement, all of that information is in the description. A lot of free resources, free review, free consultations, free resources, all in the description below. Do not leave that untouched. So let's start off with, you are denied your claim. Well, guess what? The first thing is, you can take as many bites of the VA apple as you would like. Okay, you could have been denied for this specific condition 15 times. It doesn't matter. You can continue to submit additional evidence and so forth. Now, do I think that it should take that many times? No, I don't. But just to make the point, right? So let's say that you filed a claim, just your initial claim, and it comes back unfavorable. Now, denied versus unfavorable, it's two different things. They both kind of suck in their own special ways. Denied, in my mind, equates to denied service connection, just a flat out, you're going nowhere with that specific condition and claim. Unfavorable could mean a lower rating. Maybe you got a 0%, and in your mind, you think you should have been a 30%, for example. So either way, that is a correction needs to be made. So you really want to go through that rating schedule, or not rating schedule, your VA decision letter. Go through that rating decision and see exactly why you were denied. For most people, it's one of two things. It's either because you did not supply a nexus. Now, barring presumptive conditions, a nexus is required. I'm going to throw this out there. A nexus is even required for a secondary condition. What is a nexus? A nexus is a link. It's a link. It is a connection, a link between your condition that you're applying for, whatever condition it is. I'm filing for this condition, and a link between that condition and either your time in service, or if it's a secondary, a link to a service-connected condition. So you're getting a nexus, a link between one of those two things, either a current service-connected condition for a secondary, or your time in service. Now, here's the interesting part. That nexus is really think about it this way. If you're looking for a direct service connection, you're really thinking to yourself, okay, I need to prove to the VA that this condition that I'm filing for is either caused by my time in the military or manifested during my time in the military or was made worse by my time in the military. Okay. So it's kind of, you have three different weird little avenues to go down to prove your nexus. Now, oftentimes, we don't have any in-service solid medical evidence that really ties it. So therefore, we get diagnosed outside of service, and now we're building evidence to make a bridge back to our time in service. This is where a Nexus letter comes into play. Having a medical professional, a doctor, writing you a letter or a letter on your behalf to the VA, essentially, stating that your condition is at least as likely as not, or more than likely, to have manifested during your time in service, or was caused by your time in service, or was made worse by your time in service because of XYZ, whatever the rationale is. Maybe your MOS, maybe there was some sort of an incident that you can kind of tie it back to, and it all makes sense, along with your own personal statement, maybe buddy statements, that type of stuff. So again, one of the reasons why people get denied is lack of nexus. Okay. So you really need to double down and put the effort in to create this nexus. The nexus, again, is the link, right? It is the glue between your condition and your time in service for a direct service connection or a current secondary. Now, what I see people do sometimes is, okay, I heard that this condition is secondary to this type of a condition. The VA just diagnosed me for this condition, and I already have this condition, so I'm going to file for a secondary condition for this. But meanwhile, you did not provide any evidence that actually links this to that. Now, in some cases, it's obvious. Maybe it's radiculopathy. You have a lower back condition. You file for radiculopathy. You might not need a nexus because there's already so much medical literature out there regarding it. However, other things, you would probably need to get a doctor to write down that your other condition is because of this service-connected condition, linking it, creating that glue. Another reason veterans are denied or get an unfavorable decision, right? Typically, now we'll talk about denial too. So is because of, I'm wondering if anybody can guess, no evidence on your actual diagnosis. It's a self-diagnosis, if you will. I know I have migraines. I'm going to file for migraines. Where's your evidence, right? You have to think like you're going to court. You need to provide evidence. You need to get your expert witness, if you will, the doctor, to say, veteran so-and-so has migraines. There. Now you have migraines. You saying it doesn't make you have migraines. The doctor saying it makes it to where you now have migraines. Now, that's just a piece of the pie, right? The diagnosis is important. You must be diagnosed for a condition. That condition must be static in nature or have some sort of residual effects that are ongoing. It has to be chronic, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be static. It would be nice if it was static. You would want to prove that it is static if you can, because that will help you with the 100%. So really, it's your condition must be chronic in nature or have some sort of residual effects. If it is static and it's been the same for 5, 6, 7 years, have your doctor annotate that in the medical records, because again, that helps you with the permanent and total aspect. So typically denials come from nexus, lack of nexus, or lack of diagnosis. Now, if you're prior to 12 months from that denial, you can absolutely file a supplemental claim. Don't just jump into a higher level review because you think that it's the right thing. In some cases it is, okay? But keep in mind, you cannot submit any additional evidence at all with your higher level review. The higher level reviewer has to look at the evidence that you've already supplied and then make a determination from that. Now, if you supplied everything and you're not planning on supplying anything else, well, then that it is what it is. However, if your denial is because of a lack of nexus, it might behoove you to go to a medical provider and get more solid nexus information, independent medical opinion, so forth. If you did not get diagnosed for the condition, you self-diagnosed and you were thinking, well, you know what, the VA has a bunch of doctors, they should diagnose me. Well, they're not. And so now they denied you. No diagnosis. Okay, well, now you need to go get diagnosed for that condition. In either of those circumstances, you're going to have to supply additional evidence to the VA, which means you need to file a supplemental claim. Now, if it's within the 12-month period from the denial, they will preserve that intent to file or your claim date, whatever, if you didn't file a intent to file and you just filed a claim and it got denied, or if you filed an intent to file, then filed a claim, whatever the earliest potential effective date is, will be preserved. Now, keep in mind that if you weren't diagnosed for something when you filed your claim and it got denied, and then you get diagnosed for it, and then you file it, they might go off that diagnosis date as the earliest effective date for that specific condition because, well, you didn't really have the condition, right? You didn't have the condition before, and now you have it. So they might just go off of that diagnosis date for the any sort of back pain and so forth. Now, we talked about a few things if you hung on. One, getting denied typically is because of lack of nexus or lack of diagnosis. How you remedy that? Well, you go get that information. You double down on gathering that evidence. Then you would end up filing a supplemental claim if it's within 12 months. Now, after 12 months, you could file a supplemental again. It's just that now your preservation of the earliest effective date is no longer valid. It's going to be off of the date that you file that new supplemental claim. Or you could, if it's over 12 months, you could file an intent to file, work on it, then file, and that would become your new effective date for earliest back pain and so forth. Now, this part is also interesting. You could, if it's over 12 months from your decision date, over 12 months, you could, let's say it's been 2 years, right? 2 years since your decision, your denial, you could file an intent to file, and you could end up just filing a Form 526EZ and doing a standard claim out the gate and just keeping it and just kind of starting it over. The VA doesn't care which one you file. They don't mind. And in some cases, it makes it a little easier to flow right into a intent to file if you needed to. Now, let's talk really quickly about unfavorable. Your claim came back and your rating was low. Okay, you got approved, service connection was done, but let's say you got a 0%. So 0% is not fun. Let's just say that it's, who knows, whatever, condition X. So you're at 0%, but you talked with 7 other people, they all got, and they all have higher ratings than 0. And you seem like you're kind of in the same ballpark, kind of weird. You're not really sure why. So could be, most likely, that you did not articulate to your doctor appropriately the severity of your condition. And what I mean by appropriately is as it relates to the rating schedule. The VA's rating schedule spells it out. This criteria warrants this percentage. This criteria warrants this percentage. This criteria warrants that percentage. You can typically kind of figure out where you fall on some conditions. Others are a little more, I guess, cumbersome to get through. Maybe it's the range of motion stuff and you're not quite sure how much they're going to measure you and what have you. But things like migraines, it kind of spells it out and you could tell things like GERD. You can read it and you know if you fit that or not for that specific rating. Now, if you were rated low, you would want to review. You would want to review that rating schedule, read it, and determine whether or not you believe that you have the criteria for a higher rating. And if you do, then you should probably not file an HLR unless all of that evidence is in your file. Now, if you're not sure if it's in your file for the VA, then you would want to go to your doctor and you would want to make sure that you embed that information for the severity and all of that stuff from the rating schedule essentially into your medical records to ensure that you are documenting it appropriately, then getting that information, and in my opinion, filing a supplemental claim. Because now you're giving the VA exactly what they need to rule in your favor at the appropriate percentage rate. Very important. It's a little bit of work, but guess what? It's $1 million deal. You got to kind of put a little bit of effort into it. I wish it wasn't this way, but you have to lean forward a little bit. And sometimes working with another entity to help be that second set of eyes for you can really help you get the most out of your VA disability compensation. So again, if you need any help with your claim, if you need medical evidence, if you need help with lay statements, whether it's a personal statement or a buddy statement, anything like that, you can go into the comments, go into the description. There's a free resources for at least a free review, a free consultation, and then also free resources through Claim Raven, which is a great resource for all veterans. With that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.